Learn it. Okay. Hi, and welcome to Digital Art with me, Dominique Bennett. Today we'll be learning the fundamentals of art, and our topic today will be
Hi, and welcome back to Digital Art with me, your host Dominique. Today, we're going to be painting this pretty flower picture. But before we get started, I just want to read a couple verses from the Bible, just to get us in the perfect mood before we start drawing. This is coming from Matthew 6:25 to 37. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life and what you will eat or drink, or about your body or what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. Do they not sow and reap, or stow away in barns? And yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow? They do not labor nor spin, sorry. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today, and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So, with that being said, let's get started. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to go to Window, go to Arrange, and go to 2 Vertical. Oops, sorry, that's another one. So now that we have this, I'm going to move the canvas over slightly so it's more full on this side. And then we're going to color pick. We're going to color pick the background and make a background layer first, and then we'll do everything else. So for now, I'm just going to color pick off here and zoom out a little bit here so I can see the full canvas. It's at an angle slightly, so I'm just going to make a sketch like this. Then we see that there's almost like a stained glass happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with the green and just brush it down. And the most straight line you can, but it doesn't have to be completely straight because we'll fix it later. So for now, we're just putting in the very base colors that we see. Okay, I'm just gonna cut out this part here so it looks a bit more straight. There we go. Then it seems like this might be the corner of a wall or so. So just brushing that in. And really for this class, we're just learning on how to color pick and where to put each color. Then grabbing this color here. Now it looks like it's white. It's a very, very light blue. Alright. Then just this color at the bottom. Alright. Now that we have done this, we're going to start drawing our flowers. So first what I like to do is I like to do a sketch before I just jump into coloring. So we're going to try to replicate this as best we can. So I'm going to start off with the stuff we see in the back, so like the can holding the flowers. Oops, it's in white still. let me fix that. I'm going to Control Z to undo. Alright. All I'm really doing is I'm looking at the image and I'm, well, copying with my eyes what I'm seeing as best I can. Alright, then there's like a little rim happening here. And most of this is hidden on this part, so it doesn't really matter what underneath looks like because we won't be seeing it. Okay, so now for this part, we're going to do some little triangles. And each of these triangles, we're going to zoom in now. And now we're going to zoom in here to see the detail up close. So now that we've seen that, we know it's like a little thing here. And they're going to do a trick that's going to make life so much easier. So for now, we're just going to do everything on the left side. Alright, now that we've done that, all we're going to do is cut this in half, Control C, Control V, then we'll go to Edit, we go to Transform, and we're going to go to Flip Horizontally because it's a new layer. Then we're going to do Control T and move it back into place right over there. There you go. Now you've done the pattern, easy and simple. Now I'm going to Control E and merge it with the same layer, so when I take it off, it's all on one layer. Then I'm going to go around with the lasso tool and do click Control C. Then we're going to Control V up here and Control V over here. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, Control V. And for now, we're going to leave it like that. I see it's reaching, but we can do a trick that will basically mesh it around so it doesn't look so straight on, because it is curving right here, as you can see. Then we're going to Control V again and put this one over here. Now, what we're going to do is, we're going to merge these layers into one. So we'll call this our line art layer. Now what we're going to do is do the half over here. Get this part too. Oops. If you missed this part that you want to lasso, you can always just go and add more lasso. And then I'm going to Control T and click Control which can stretch or shorten it. So when we shorten it, it actually makes it look like it's curving there, as you can see. So I'm just going to shorten it a bit more on that side, and there you go, it gives it a curving effect. Oops, sorry. Once you're done with that, you have to unlasso by just clicking on the screen again, and it gets rid of the lasso. Okay, now we're gonna go and do the same thing to this side. Remember, you lasso first, then Control T, and then you click Control, and it just brings it in. As you can see, there's another patterning happening over there. So, what I'm gonna do is make these a little bit smaller so that we can fit that pattern on the side. Then we'll make the middle smaller. So right now, I'm just doing, you can click L on the keyboard, which will give you the lasso tool, but I just clicked on it manually, and we're just making the design pattern a bit smaller. Alright, now that we've done that, we're just gonna do some little dots over here to show that their pattern continues around the jar, or not the jar, the watering can. Yes, this. There you go. Now we're gonna do the same thing here for this one. And we can also see there's a pattern happening up here. So I'm just gonna drop a pattern in. Alright, so I also see there's a thing happening here on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the pattern even smaller so that we can fit in these little details. So I'm just going around with the lasso tool again and making it smaller. A little bit smaller. So right there. If it's too small, we can always just enlarge the image again so that it fits the water again. Okay, now you see that in the middle, actually here, this way, we have a pattern, then it's a pattern in here, and a pattern in here. So what I'm going to do is just erase the lines because those are more just to show you where we're putting the pattern. Now we're going to do the same steps we did with these ones. We're going to Control C and then Control V. For now, we're just making it rough and messy because it doesn't need to be very perfect, but you just want to get that shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lasso half of this and Control T, and I'm just going to slightly rotate it. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side, so it's more in a triangular motion. And there you go, you rotate it, and it's more of a triangle. So now we see how big it is on the scale, and we're just going to move it more towards the left and make it a bit larger like this. There we go. Then what we're going to do is lasso it again, Control C, Control V. Now we have pasted it, make another one and move it slightly more to the right, and then just kind of balance out in the middle because it's the middle part. It also changes slightly on these last two little holes for the flowers. It's more triangular shaped here. So I'm going to just make a triangular shape. Alright, now that we see that happening, we see it's the same pattern before on this side. Control C. Oops. 1 second. Control C. Oh. Sorry, I forgot you have to merge because this one was on the same layer. If it's not on the same layer, it won't select the one that you want to be selected. It won't select anything. So now that we do this, I'm gonna just move it more to the right and make it a bit larger. And then as you can see, we have our pattern. It's starting to look really nice. Now what we're gonna do for this is we're just gonna grab half of this, Control C, Control V, and just move it over here to the very end of the can to give it that rounded shape. I'm gonna move it slightly to the left so it looks like it's curved. Now, now you don't have to lasso every layer. You can just Control C and Control V, and it will copy the entire image. As you can see, we copied the left side of the image. So what I'm going to go do now is go to transform, flip it horizontally, then Control T, and we're just going to move it right over here, make it a bit smaller, and just move it right here. Oops, I'm gonna scale down this pattern because it's a bit too big. It's running into the pattern we did just now. Control T. I made it smaller and I just made it wider by doing Control T and then clicking Control. Now we have this layer. Oops, sorry, we need to merge down. So we have this layer over here. We're on the line art layer right now. We're gonna just Control T and just move it down slightly so that they're lining up. And we're also gonna go to layer number 4. Oh, also a neat trick. If you already lassoed something, all you have to do is switch the layer here and it will lasso this instead of this. So we're just gonna make this a bit smaller. There we go. Now we're just gonna move everything down so it's more straight. Alright, and then we have that happening over there. With this one, oops, this layer, it's on layer 3. Then we're just going to make it a bit smaller. And now we're going to merge them. So now we're all on the lean art layer. Then, if you want to make straight lines, you just hold Shift and draw the line. So that was a bit more solid, so I'm going to just not press this button. There we go. just roughly about there. And here. Now that we see that, all we're really gonna do is kind of just make our brush, or you could use a different brush. I'm gonna use a different brush and go make a new layer, put it underneath, and I'm just gonna add some shadow in the places to give myself an indication for where I need to color darker. I'll delete it later, but it's just a reference point of where it needs to be darker. So right here, right here. Yeah, working in black and white is so much better before putting in color, because then you know where all your values are and you know which one is darker, which one's lighter. So as you can see, it's getting pretty dark up here, but for now I'm just gonna fill it in. Then I'm going to click the lightest part here, the gray, and we know that there's a light coming in from this angle over here, and it's shining on the bottom here. This has got to be my favorite sketching brush. It's a custom brush that I got on YouTube. You can search, if you have Photoshop, you can search for custom brushes for certain textures online, or you can just use YouTube. I just use YouTube usually because that's where the professional artists usually are putting their brushes. They don't usually put them on websites anymore, so they're easier to find. So yeah, I really suggest getting custom brushes. They have such nice textures. Like this one has a almost paint-like texture, which I'm going to use for painting in the color because I think it's quite pretty. So yeah. Right, there's a bit of darkness over the handle here, and there's darkness right here. So when you start to lean back, you're seeing what is happening. I'm going to go in with this darker color to show the shadow happening here. And then we have all their flowers happening here, so I'll put the darkest, oops, it's turning a bit green, but you want to just drag it to the gray. So now that we know the flowers are going to be happening over here, so we can just leave that empty for now, but just show that it's very dark green here because there's something in the water jug. Alright. Now I'm just going to go in with the small details, put my brush is at 90, I'm going to just size it down to a decent size so that you can fill it in very fast. I forgot to copy this part over here, so I'm going to go to the line art layer, Control C, and then over here, Control V, edit, transform, flip horizontally, and just drag it right there. And then go back to this layer and just fill it. You see, I'm already getting closer and closer to what our final product is. Alright. Oh, I almost forgot the trunk part of the can. So I'm just going to take the lightest color because it's the brightest on this angle. Actually, I think I might even go brighter just to show how bright this part of the can is. And just make it a bit smaller to do a highlight. Alright, and then we also see that there's a shine happening on the rims here. So just making my brush a lot smaller. It's also happening down here in this rim. Just gonna grab this color, make it a bit lighter here. And then you see right underneath those rims that it's darker to show that it's sticking out. Alright, now that that's done, we're just gonna basically fix up now. I think, yes, it will be. This will be a part of a 2-part series. So if you like this so far, please make sure to tune in next week for the next part, and we will finish it that week. So right now it's a bit messy, but we're just going to we're just putting the values down, so it's not supposed to be perfect. We'll fix it later. Alright, so we have some flowers happening here and a bird. And we also have, it seems like a sponge back there. But what I'm going to just focus on for right now is just sketching in the other things. So I'm just going to go back here. And there's like a little thing happening through here. And then we have our shadow. Then we have flowers happening on this side. Well, you can see they're coming from the stem here. That was just Control T, well lasso, then I Control T. Alright, now we're just gonna make this one a bit bigger because it's slightly touching the other one. Just rotate it like that. Then go back in and erase that part. Oh yeah, there's also a line happening through here. Now we have our birdie on this side, and I think that will be it for today's class. But let's just get the birds done first. And then this strange looking sponge thing here. The flowers we'll do in the next class, and because we won't be sketching them, we'll be coloring them in. So I think that is all for now. Be sure to tune into the next class if you enjoyed what we're doing right now, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next class. Bye bye.
Hope you enjoyed our show. I hope that you join us next time. This has been Digital Art with Donnie Bennett. God bless you and have a great day.
Hi, and welcome to ECCB Connects, a program produced by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to share with you who we are, what we do, and how we serve you. Today, our special guest is Dr. Curtis Charles, Director of Academic Affairs and Interim Head, School of Science, Computing and Artificial Intelligence at the University of the West Indies, Five Islands Campus, Antigua and Barbuda, and he will be speaking to us about the Climate Resilience Data Challenge. Stay with us. We will be right back after the break.
Rise to the challenge.
Yes, rise to the challenge.
Calling students and practitioners worldwide to design AI applications that can solve real-world climate data problems.
Students and experts are challenged to apply their expertise in data science and artificial intelligence to assess the changes and correlations between specific climate data and predict future events and trends. The data provided by challenge organizers will cover 3 or more data sets from countries in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union related to the rise in heat temperatures, intensity and frequency of hurricanes and floods, reduced precipitation or low rainfall, coastal degradation, coastal flooding and sea level rise, deforestation, and soil erosions. This fully virtual event will culminate with finalists selected from the pool of candidates who would have submitted their entries, pitching their prototypes on April 7, 2022, Day 2 of the Growth and Resilience Dialogue, for the opportunity to win the grand prize of $10,000. University students and private sector practitioners working in the fields of data science and artificial intelligence are invited to participate in the Climate Resilience Data Challenge 2022, organized by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, in collaboration with the OECS Commission, the World Bank, and the University of the West Indies.
Get ready, we challenge you.
Dr. Charles, welcome to the ECCB Connects. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Nigel. It's good to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
The ECCB will host its 6th Growth and Resilience Dialogue in collaboration with the World Bank, OECS Commission, and the UE from the 6th to the 7th of April. And this is going to be under the theme Climate Resilience, Securing the Future of Small Island Developing States. A climate resilience data challenge will be part of the 2-day event. Dr. Charles, could you kindly explain to our audience what exactly is the data challenge?
So the data challenge, thanks for that question. The data challenge for this event is going to focus on how do we use advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, to gain deep insights into all this data that we have on the atmosphere and the environment and temperatures and frequencies, all the variables that's affecting climate change. We have large amounts of data on it. What we're going to be doing here is bringing together climate change specialists, but most importantly, data scientists who are accustomed running algorithms on data to get the insights. And once we understand the patterns and trends of the behavior of these environmental factors, then we could make decisions on what type of solution would be best for the challenge that we're approaching.
Very, very interesting indeed. Tell us about the objectives of this initiative. Why such an initiative at this particular time?
Well, I think for me, like I said, the burning urgency of now is so eminent. I think one of the things that we learned as small developing island economies from COP26 is that the cavalry is not coming. I mean, I think COP26 basically, the leaders of these governments basically told the small islands that, look, you're on your own. So we have to use every resource and every technology that we have to make sure that we could plan buildings better, that we could plan our future better. So this is about bringing technologies together, looking at the temperatures, the effect of heat, the effect of hurricanes, the effect of floods, precipitation, sea level rising. Once we could look at the patterns, the historical patterns of what has happened, then we could make predictions about the future. And that's what this is all about. It's about taking our destiny into our hands and basically trying to develop these solutions with the World Bank and Eastern Caribbean Bank, etc.
So this activity would indeed be a great benefit to the people of our region.
Would be a huge benefit to the people of the region. And I think there are some areas that we have pointed out, but we talk a lot about sea level rising, right? But we don't talk about groundwater rising, right? I mean, groundwater rising is a direct correlation. There's direct correlation between sea level rising and groundwater rising. But in many areas that's prone to flooding, if we look at the data of what's the patterns of how ground level rise in certain regions, we could come up with solutions, but we could also not build on those areas that's prone to ground level rising rather than sea level rising. So there are a lot of insights we could gain from the data, and so bringing together all this huge amount of data that we could look at, and we didn't have the opportunity to do that previously. But the price of computing, cloud computing, now allows us to do what we could not have done humanly possible by running algorithms and writing the right types of algorithm to gain the insights into the data.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Charles, tell us about the target group of persons who are invited to participate in this particular challenge.
So the target group are really global citizens who are engaged in data science research, machine learning, as well as climate change research. We're looking at universities. Universities is rich ground for research, both at student level as well as faculty. We're also looking at corporate companies like Microsoft and IBM and some of those companies that's doing this type of research in their research labs. So corporate tech, universities, non-for-profit organizations that have been studying climate change for a while. These are the audiences that we are looking at. Even at our university here, Emerging University, we have two groups that's going to be participating in the challenge. Eager students and faculty that's ready to dive into this and solve the problems of our region. So those are the three main groups we're looking at.
What would be the procedures now for participating in the challenge? Like, how do interested persons get involved in this?
Well, first thing is to go to the website, and the website will have the instructions. As you know, the challenge was launched on January the 25th. Once someone or team registers, that would then send them an email acknowledging their registration. The data is going to be available on February the 11th. At that point in time, the team could start building their solution, interrogating the data, and then submit their solution. The deadline for submission is March the 23rd. And the data challenge candidate shortlisting and the finalists will be the 22nd to the 30th of March, and the data challenge finalists will be announced on the 7th of April. So all this great, rich information is on the website for interested parties, but the first step is to register. So we have that information and we could begin immediately to communicate with the teams.
I am mindful of the dates you have mentioned, and I trust that our audience is paying attention to those key dates. Now, tell me about the prize fund assigned to the winning team.
So the winning team gets $10,000, and I have to tell you, $10,000 US. So that's pretty extravagant for our region. And you know, the thing about that is, they could, if it's a small team of two, that's significant. If it's a university like us, that's significant. So regardless of how you take it, but you would find that most of the participants in this challenge is not in for the money. They want to be able to sell. They exist to solve difficult and what we call in the academy wicked challenges. And climate change is one of those wicked challenges that we have been struggling with. And we have an opportunity in this data challenge to come up with some innovative solutions that we could build upon. And who knows, the winning solution might be a solution that we could take public, could be a public company. Silicon Valley might be interested, and we might be able to solve not only the region's climate change issue, but climate change solutions for other regions within the hemisphere and within the globe as well. So we're excited about the outcome of this. The outcome is not just 10,000, it's the art of the possible of solutions to solve our climate change challenges.
I'm excited about this myself, just hearing about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing the presentations from the various finalists. Dr. Charles, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today on ECCB Connects, and we look forward to this event coming up on April 6th and 7th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And now for this week's financial tip.
Start saving today. Any savings, no matter how small, add up. $1 a day gives $365 a year.
We've come to the end of another episode of ECCB Connects. If you're interested in learning more about the Climate Resilience Data Challenge, you can check the website at the bottom of the screen. Join us next week for another exciting episode of ECCB Connects. Thank you for watching.
Hi, and welcome to ECCB Connects. Have you ever wondered when you make a payment how the funds are transferred from your account to the other person's account? What about sending funds to friends or family in another country? Senior banking specialist Francis Fontenelle breaks down the payment system of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Stay connected with us. We'll share more with you after this message.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is rolling out Dcash, the next step in the evolution of the EC dollar. Use Dcash to send and receive money to and from friends and family. Make payments directly from your smart device. Make payments from wherever you are. Download the app from the Google Play or Apple Store and sign up, or visit dcashec.com for more information. The future of the EC dollar is digital. Let's make history together.
Mr. Fontenelle, welcome to ECC.
Thank you for having me, Karina.
Now, Fonty, in our everyday lives, we have need to conduct transactions for different reasons. We buy groceries, we pay for services. Business owners, for instance, have need to send funds to suppliers in different parts of the world. But what actually allows this movement of funds from person to person, entity to entity to take place?
The mechanism through which funds are transferred between individuals, between businesses, between governments, or we call them economic agents in economic terms, is referred to as the payment system. This is a mechanism. Also, we can describe it as any system that is used to settle financial transactions through the transfer of monetary value. So essentially what you are making a reference to is pretty much the payment system of a country, which allows funds to be transferred between individuals seamlessly.
So behind the scenes, when somebody may go to a countertop and pass their credit card or a check or cash, there's actually a whole system set up in place that allows this movement of funds to happen, and it happens for us almost instantly. Now, what are some of the elements that make up this payment system?
Payments are categorized in two sections: what we refer to as large value payments and what we refer to as retail payments. Now, large value payments are significant and time sensitive payments. We call them significant in the sense that they may be, big, huge payments. An example would be in the event a government wants to raise a bond issue, say $100 million bond issue. That's a large value payment. There are payments that may not necessarily be large, but they are time sensitive. If you need to settle something within a period of time, within a quick period of time, that is considered to be a large value payment because it's very time sensitive. Now, the retail side it refers to smaller payments, but they occur in larger volume. On the large value side, you have large payments, but they might occur in smaller volumes. But on the retail side, the small payments, but they occur in a larger volume. So when you go and make that payment at a store, when you buy, you pay your bills with the card, these are what we refer to as the retail payments. Now, a country's development is normally seen through the eyes of the retail payments. Because if people conduct transactions pretty much using cash, and you go to another country where people conduct transactions utilizing other means than cash, you get an impression, it gives you an idea of the development stage of that particular country. So when we speak of payments, we first want to categorize them into two broad areas: the large value areas, which is, like I say, they may be big, but they are time sensitive, and the retail payments, which redounds to what we everyday people get involved in.
Now, having said that, I think the question that comes to mind now is how the movement actually takes place. I'm at a countertop and I'm paying. What actually goes to walk us through the process of how my funds from my bank account are now transferred to the recipient? It may be a business owner or another individual. How do those funds actually move from point A to point B?
On the retail side of the payment system, there are various channels through which payments are made. Now, you have identified one channel which you have considered to be cards, but there is the cash channel, so you can pay by cash. You can also pay by check. You can pay using a card. You can pay using, now, given technology, you can pay using your phone. So there are various channels, and when I say using your phone, I'm speaking specifically something in our case with Dcash, because the central bank has introduced the Dcash, which is the e-wallet. So what in the retail payment side of payment system, you have different payment channels, various options that you can use to make a payment. If you use cash, it is obvious. You take out the money from your pocket, you pay for your goods, and you go about your business. The merchant collects that cash, puts it away, and goes and deposits the cash into a bank. If you pay by a card, so technically, and most in our area, cards can either be debit cards or credit cards. If you pay, say, using a debit card, what happens is that, so by using a card, your card is aligned to your account. Okay, in terms of a debit card, it is associated with your personal account. Now, what happens is that there is what is called a gateway, and there is an institution responsible for monitoring that gateway. When you provide that card to the merchant and he swipes it or he puts it for the point of sale, what that point of sale machine does is to alert your bank as to whether or not there is sufficient funds in there to undertake that transaction. That is pretty much a 1 second activity because it's going through the internet. And if there is sufficient funds, then the monies will move from your account into that merchant's account through that point of sale apparatus. So the point of sale machine is what connects your account to the merchant's account.
Similarly, what happens with the larger value transactions where those, as you said, they're less frequent, but they're more time sensitive? How is that facilitated?
Okay, now the large value transactions, central banks realize how systemic they can be, because if a large value transaction fails, it can have adverse repercussions on the financial system. So what central banks around the world would have done is to take control over most large value systems.
And these large value payments would normally come from what type of entity? These are government payments, these are bank payments?
Yes, normally these are government payments and these are bank payments, normally, or institutional payments. But they tend to be significant.
And thus the reason why having these transfers done efficiently is so important.
And yes, and done timely. So most large value payments are done through what is called a real-time gross settlement system. Because what you want in the payment system, you want to minimize the time settlement takes. Because the longer settlement takes, is the more risk you bring to bear on the payments, on the payment system. So if you can conduct a transaction and for it to settle instantaneously or as close to real time as possible, the better it is for the system and the less risk that is in the system. So most central banks decided that they would not allow the large value system, the large value payment system, to be left to the private sector because financial stability is at stake. And so most central banks tend to have control over the large value payments through what we call the real-time gross settlement system. In our case, the central bank, the ECCB, is the owner of the real-time gross settlement system. In other countries where that is not the case, but the ECCB tend to have oversight of the real-time gross settlement system. Because in the large value payments, you want settlement to take place as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. You want it to take place in all areas, both in the retail and the large value, yes, but more so in the large value where you have significant payments that are considered to be systemic and that can have an adverse effect on the financial system if settlement does not take place on a timely basis.
Now, Fonty, you mentioned a little bit about what the ECCB helps to facilitate in terms of the payment system. And as some of us, as we know, the ECCB is the monetary authority for 8 island economies. That's Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, the Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And these economies make up what we call the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Explain to us how the ECCB manages and facilitates this whole payment system operation among the member countries.
The central bank, not only the ECCB, but all central banks have a role to play in the payment system. And the role is multifaceted. They are the users of the payment system. They are the operators of the payment system. They are catalysts because they want to bring change. They want to improve the payment system. And also they are an overseer of the payment system. They want to go in there to make sure everything is working the way it should. So as a central bank, the roles are multifaceted. With the ECCB, yes, that is the same. We are the user of the payment system. We operate the payment system because the RTGS rests with the payment system. And the ECCB is also a catalyst because the ECCB has developed what we refer to as a vision and a modernization plan for the payment system. As far as the ECCB is concerned, the payment system is, well, I don't want to say archaic, but it is not 21st century, and we are already in the 21st century. But the central bank has developed a vision and a modernization plan for the payment system. And that modernization plan rests on pretty much four pillars. I would consider 5 pillars. One, the central bank wants to improve the legislation behind the payment system. We have what is called a Payment Systems Act, which governs the way the payment system it should run. But that act was first introduced in 2008. So we think that that act is dated. It needs to improve. So currently we are in the process of upgrading the Payment Systems Act. Reason being, the payment system technology is significantly influencing the payment system. It's no longer, not only banks are involved in the payment system anymore. Private sector organizations, you have e-wallet providers. And so therefore, we need the legislation to move in tandem with the technology. So therefore, the central bank is at the forefront of revising, viewing, updating the legislation to make the payment system modern. Also, we're looking at improving the infrastructure of the payment system. And when I say the infrastructure, I would have mentioned the real-time gross settlement system that is pretty much aligned to the large value. We're looking at reviewing the real-time gross settlement system. What are the developments taking place on a global basis that we need to introduce into our payment system? We're also looking at our automated clearinghouse. Okay, right now it has been confined to a small group of financial institutions. So the central bank is looking at opening access for the automated clearinghouse to other institutions. So on that area, and what will it take for that to happen? We may need to review the infrastructure itself of the ACH if we want to add more persons, more institutions in there. Okay, so the central bank is closely, the central bank and its affiliates, closely looking at the ACH with respect to improving it, to making it a little more modern. We also look at financial inclusion, the central bank, as far as the payment system is concerned, because the payments should not be confined to persons who have bank accounts, to only persons who have bank accounts. Payment is a public good. You need to, we live in an environment, our economy means that we need to transact. Once you're transacting, you must make payments. So payments should not be confined to only persons with bank accounts. So in the payment system modernization, we're looking to broaden it to include everybody, not only persons who have a bank account. Also, we're looking at the oversight of the payment system, ensuring that since we're going to broaden the payment system to bring in more participants,
then it is incumbent on us to ensure that the persons entering that space possess the necessary skill, the necessary requirements for them to participate in the payment system. And also we're looking at cross-border transactions. We think cross-border transactions, it's a little onerous. It's expensive. So how can we improve the payment system to facilitate ease of which people can transfer money across borders? So this is the role the central bank is playing in the payment system with respect to the vision and the modernization of the payment system.
Fonty, as we close our discussion on payment system, talk to us about why the regular person should be interested, should be concerned about this mechanism that allows funds to move from point A to point B.
If you get paid by your institution and you cannot pay your mortgage, you cannot pay your bills, not because you don't have money, but because you cannot settle, you cannot execute the transaction, that becomes a problem. So payments are important because it is the lifeblood of the economy. And if transactions cannot settle, then the country goes into gridlock.
Fondy, thank you so much for speaking with us on ECCB Connects.
It was a pleasure, and I look forward, if needs be, to be with you in the future again.
And now for this week's financial tip.
Take full advantage of retirement investment options. Make the most of everything your employer has to offer, including pension contributions.
We've come to the end of this week's episode of ECCB Connects. Thanks for watching, and join us next week for another program when we share with you who we are, what we do, and how we serve you.